Our second speaker is an Asian woman pioneer in conversational AI and spiritual tech. At the intersection of meditation and artificial intelligence, Jean marries the two worlds through her startups after 15 years of studying with ancient yoga masters and fintech and ad tech company, Starbutter AI, where she led the AI operations and marketing partnerships and helped design, build, and train voice assistant products that lived on Google Home and Amazon Alexa. Jean recently spoke at TEDx Japan, where she is now based with her husband and daughter, and is a serial speaker at global tech events. She is an NYU mentor, corporate coach, and consultant on Silicon Valley startups, AI, jobs of the future, holistic wellness, and entrepreneurship. Let us all welcome Jean Alfonso-Decena.
Today, the role of spirituality and technology and the path to sustainability is what I would like to share with you. And a little bit more of an introduction to you so that you know where I'm coming from and you're not just wondering, who is this person talking about all of these things, right? I've been working in technology for 17 years. I want to give you numbers because you're in STEM. I like numbers. I'm sure you also like numbers to kind of put together, to paint a picture in your mind. I've been a yoga and meditation practitioner for a long time now, and I've been eating plant-based. So I'm so happy that that was mentioned earlier today. So I will speak a little bit about that and how that contributes to the climate change. I've been working for 11 years in a couple of Silicon Valley companies. And through that, I've been globally traveling, bringing my laptop with me wherever there's matcha and matcha tea latte and a computer and internet, I can work. I've been working in artificial intelligence for the last 4 years, and I've been teaching also yoga and meditation after I got certified. So I've been speaking in global events also because I'm really, really passionate about my own journey into tech and how that and my spiritual life, I feel, helps in the whole sustainability journey of the world. I am on my third startup now, and I'm currently based in Osaka. I have an AI company, and I'm currently building a Japan job portal for Filipino STEM folks. So when you guys and girls are ready, sign up with us later on, so we can help find you a job here if that's something that you are interested in. Okay, so when we think about spirituality, we might conjure up a vision of a human being, maybe with her eyes closed or his legs crossed in front of him, trying to meditate, or maybe someone kneeling, saying a prayer. Right? So that's usually the vision when we hear the word spirituality. On the other hand, when we hear the other word technology, we think AI, bots, gadgets, data science nowadays, machine learning, and many, many more other big technological words that we have gotten accustomed to. And on the third hand, when we think about sustainability, we think about the climate, weather, hot temperatures, wildly cold temperatures, trees, animals, earth. Do we live longer than planned? Or, so many things come into mind. We usually think about them as three separate domains or areas of expertise, but we never think about them as three things that could maybe merge somewhere in the middle. Maybe there's an intersection where they can help each other, or maybe we can even talk about the three worlds in one breath. I rarely meet people who boldly talk about these things together. So I wanted to introduce this to you because I'm really, really passionate about this. And the reason why human beings usually think of these worlds separately is because of the way we all grew up. We got accustomed, we got used to thinking in a fragmented way, in a way that's separate, meaning we are separate from each other as human beings. We are separate from the animals that we eat. We are separate from the trees that give us shade when it's so hot. We are separate from the technology that we use, right? And I want to share with you one quote from Warren Buffett, one of the top financial business experts and icons of this era. He said, "Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." So I like this quote a lot because it invites me to think about, yeah, what if that someone didn't plant that tree or didn't plant the many trees around us that's providing us better air or shade or just a stool to sit on or everything else that trees provide us with, right? I don't have the answer, but I really love posing questions like that, and I hope that becomes a curious questioning for you too, because we're talking about sustainability, and trees, as strong as they seem and as simple as they may seem, they play a crucial role in helping us thrive as a human species. And yet, there's a lot of taking for granted of these majestic trees, right? Now, putting them together, I want to share with you a definition of spiritual technologies. So, this is an emerging space. Very few players in the field are out there. You can Google it, you will find very few people who dabble in spiritual technologies. So, one organization called Spiritual Technologies Project defines spiritual technologies as repeated spiritual practices that are meant to change the mind, body, or spirit of an individual or community. These technologies are developed and cultivated for the explicit purpose of connecting people with each other and with their environment. So I feel like this could be a heavy phrase or a heavy topic. I don't know. Maybe this is simple for you if you're a fan of technology or spirituality or sustainability or uniting things. But I like the definition. Now, I am brave enough to come up with my own personal definition of spiritual technologies. For me, it is all and any of those digital innovations that nurture spiritual practices and facilitate human reconnection with the soul, the body, and the mind, making them whole again. So I say facilitate human reconnection because I believe that all of us have always known how we are all connected to our soul, body, and mind. And us as an individual person, we've always known that we are connected to the environment, to each other, to other countries, to the world as a whole. But we forget. We forget because of the way things and life happened through our time here. And so for me, those technologies that evoke the union of these seemingly disconnected things are the ones that are pushing forward the new domain of spiritual technologies. And the other reason why I'm really also passionate about this is because through my own practice and learning how to teach yoga and meditation, I learned how very disconnected we are. And in my own personal, episodes of anxiety, we all go through that. There's been a lot of mental health issues going around in the last several years, especially after the pandemic, right? We have become so disconnected from our very own bodies. We have become very disconnected with the people around us, the earth under us, and we have become desensitized. We lost touch of how others might feel. And all of these disconnected and desensitized circumstance is affecting the way we relate with the environment. And because of that disconnected perspective in life, we become unconscious. We unconsciously and unawarely perform activities that contribute to the really big carbon emissions that's hurting the planet, that's hurting the atmosphere, and might be even hurting the layers after the atmosphere. So this is another topic that's really, really close to my heart. And I say this loudly, I speak loudly about this because of my own personal experiences, and which also contributed to my own personal decision of adopting as many animals as I could when we were still in the Philippines. So a lot of the day-to-day things that we see, we encounter, we do ourselves unconsciously because we need it. You know, there are a lot of things that we need to do in order to survive, to thrive, to get to work, to get to school, to finish school, to eat, right? So the fossil fuel that we use to drive cars, or that's used to so that we can ride the cars, the coals to heat the buildings, the deforestation that's happening all over the world to give way to animal agriculture so that they can be raised as food. All the vast spaces of lands around the world that's cleared so that they can become landfill, they can become quote unquote storage for waste that we produce. Fast fashion, the super fast changing of fashion, that to the point of 1 month you use a certain set of clothes and then the next you throw them all away. Where do they all go, right? We don't think about these things. I didn't think about these things for a very long time. And there are many other things. And you might be thinking, I'm just one person. I'm just a young human being. What can I do? I think that all of you are so powerful. You have a lot of impact. Your very life and your very age at this point, and your very curiosity about the topic of technology and sustainability is a humongous contributor to how we can change the trajectory of the world, how we can change the climate situation, and how we can improve sustainability. The one area that I can see as a problem why it's not an easy task to fulfill this or to address this sustainability issue is a lot of human beings tend to overbook their calendars. We do so many things. We have a lot of tasks, to-do lists, so many meetings, so many things all over. And so we become overwhelmed and we no longer have the time to pause. We no longer have the time to just assess and be quiet and be silent and think about the things that we do and think about the actions that we take and the decisions we make because we're so overwhelmed. We can't even breathe, literally. So what if I tell you that you can actually be the solution by living consciously? So you, by yourself, in your life, is an important key to solving it, to addressing it, to helping. What do we mean by living consciously? So conscious living means choosing with full awareness, with an approach that's holistic. That's not just, for example, you're hungry right now, you want to eat, and I used to love cheese. I would eat a lot of cheese, and because I'm trying to fulfill this bodily need of hunger without thinking about the effect to my health, the effect to the environment, the effect to other things. So conscious living is an invitation to think about the food that we consume. Does it heal more than nourishing the body? Does it actually heal? Does it contribute to climate change, or does it help destroy? What about the information we consume from the internet? Does it enrich our lives, or is it all just gossip? What about the waste we produce? Why are we even producing so much waste? And how can we minimize it? Is there even a way? What about the possessions we have? Do we really need all of these material things? Or is there a way to minimize it or be more thoughtful about our buying or our giving or our taking? And the things that we do, the activities, the day-to-day, the weekly, the monthly, the yearly, do they help develop the skills that we need so that we can live high quality lives? And the very technology that we use, what does it do? Does it impact the world? What are the kinds of technologies that impact the world and our health and our own lives in a positive or negative way? So having time in silence, when you explore the life of living consciously, you are inviting yourself to making time in silence. And this could mean literally just sitting for 5 minutes, not doing anything, and really intentionally not doing anything, and maybe just observing your thoughts, or maybe thinking about your day, or it doesn't have to be the absence of thoughts, but just really pausing, and instead of going through the motions of your usual busy day, you might want to spend even just 60 seconds of just being with yourself without a gadget. And maybe to time you, maybe use a gadget to time you 60 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever the case may be. So just sit in silence and see what comes up, see what kinds of questions come up. And maybe that will give you the will, as you guys were talking about earlier, the will to make a change in the way you do things, right? Because everything is connected. Inevitably, and whether we like it or not, we are all connected, whether we see it now or not. And with the eruption and the disruption of technology, technology is all over. There are so many discussions and debates about technology. Being a woman in AI, I get a lot of flack for being in AI. I even got some people asking me, why are you helping companies build machines that are taking over the world, Jean? And I'm compassionate about those comments, because I think they're saying that because they don't know the technology. So as I go through this whole conscious living and spiritual technology talk, what I am trying to invite you on is to explore what really is technology, apart from these things that help us make things efficient and make our lives easier and entertain us and help us connect with our loved ones. What are these things? Why are they bad for the environment? And why do your parents tell you to stop using your gadget? So a lot of you young ones, I'm sure you get that those reminders from your families or from your parents that you have a certain time for gadgets, because I do that for my daughter. So you want to think about what are these things? What can I do so that technology becomes a helpful tool to me and the world, instead of it being a fearful source of misinformation or false news or fake news, right? Use it to inform you. Everything in the universe, not just in the world, everything in the universe is now at the tip of your hands. Research, Google, things like GMO and organic. Why is the organic, the zero waste movement pushing so hard to fight GMO? What does it have to do with the climate? Because it has a lot to do with the climate change and the sustainability issues. Watching documentaries through your technology, through your gadgets, researching what documentaries might help you better understand, and maybe your parents also have that discussion, help you understand and have better clarity on what is sustainability, why are we here, why are there certain technologies like cryptocurrency that's getting the flack also for contributing negatively to the climate, to sustainability, to the Earth's health, right? So use technology to ignite questions outside of connecting with your loved ones and researching for school or for work. Use it to equip you with the information from the source to find out really what is the truth about this whole climate change situation, and what can I really do as a young woman, as a young man, as a human being, one person, what can I do day on day to help mitigate the issue? Through technology, you can also get access to a lot of ways and tools and resources to help you be more educated about, again, the meaning of sustainability. What is sustainability? Why is the zero waste movement trying to push for no plastic, or trying to push for wooden toothbrush, or plant-based diet, or getting sunlight naturally from the sun 15 minutes a day, or riding your bicycle, or reusing and recycling, right? Everything is connected. Every plastic bag that you use goes back to the ocean, goes into the tummies of the cute creatures that we watch on YouTube, and they die. That's just one example of the cycle of, one of the contributors to pollution and climate change, plastic, right? So I invite you to explore looking at alternatives to food. What are the food that could heal the body? Maybe it's whole foods for you. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a combination of meat and whole foods and plant-based. What about information? If usually you get your information from Facebook, why not try getting it from Reddit this time? So Reddit is a very good source of information also in certain places. But what I'm trying to do is trying to ignite your adventurous, experimental spirit to try to break out of the norm so that you can educate yourself and explore other sources of information so that you know why waste is produced, how it's produced, how much waste is produced by certain industries, so that you know not to buy certain things from certain people. And maybe it can even help you build your own business. There are a lot of zero waste businesses now through the use of technology that's emerging around the world, especially in the Philippines and Japan, that's really helping reduce the CO2 emissions and other things. Maybe we can get rid of a lot of our possessions. Maybe we can give it to homeless people or other people who might need it more than us. And maybe there's a tweak that we can do in the activities that we have in our lives so that we can make space so that we can research more or be quiet more and meditate a little bit or maybe start exercising so that we don't get sick so that we can do more out of life and we can help more people and we can plant more trees. And what are the technologies that you might want to start learning? I know a lot of you are in STEM, or some of you who are working are already working in technology, but technology is so vast. In AI alone, there's so many subcategories and subworlds under that. It's even though AI has been around for 6 decades, 60 years, it's still untapped. It's still a baby. It's still emerging. There's still not a widely accepted definition for artificial intelligence, which means everybody can still, play in the field. So, what are these new technologies that you can adapt? Maybe you can be a part of the adopters, the early adopters of a new technology, right? Like spiritual technology, maybe. So big technology. So going beyond engineering also and just programming, there's so many things that you can still emerge out of it, that can be born out of it. If you're already in STEM, that's such a great first step. Keep exploring and use it to equip you, to arm you with all the necessary information so that you know better, with more clarity how else you can help in your own lives to help with making the earth more sustainable. You learn the concepts, machine learning, you were talking about that earlier, data science, artificial intelligence, how are they connected? What do they have to do with cryptocurrency? Is that even good? Is that even bad? So embrace it, embrace, and make conscious decisions around that. So you know which people to follow, which people to learn from, which technologies and companies to support. Because there are a lot of ethical technologies and ethical companies out there. So as you continue to use technology, as you research, some of the brands that I like, some of them are not brands, but Tesla is, I don't have a Tesla, but it's one of my dream transport vehicles because of its sustainable efforts. Aerobe is an app where it's a marketplace for renting and buying and selling and reusing and repurposing your used stuff. So it's helping with the issue brought upon by fast fashion. AI has been there. Holographics is actually helping. There was a circus in Europe that embraced holographics to replace live animals. So previously they would tour the world using real animals who go through a lot of trauma because they get trained. They have to get trained so that they can perform in circuses and they travel a lot. But because of the technology of holographics, I think the name of the circus company is Ron Cali. And because of that, they are now not using live animals. They freed the animals and now they just use holographics. So with the use of a little bit of machine learning and AI and holograms, they're still able to provide entertainment to people around the world without hurting animals anymore. And the entertainment quality is actually better, and more people are still bringing in profit. All businesses want profit apart from serving people. So that's one of my favorite innovations that I really like, that help with sustainability. um, Vegan burgers, plant-based meats. I'm plant-based, vegan for a long time, and then turned whole food plant-based. I learned in my vegan journey that to produce 1 pound of burger takes tons of water, tons of crops, and wide miles of lands to grow one cow up to 4 years just to make a small burger. And so that would be one of the most basic and simplest ways to define and show how a huge meat consumption contribute to the insustainability of that kind of diet. And that's one of the reasons why I went vegan. Um, and then plastic innovations, there are many companies now that use technology to either produce lab grown meat, which I'm not super advocating, but I'm not super against, but that's existing. And then the others are using technology to um, produce soluble plastic and cutleries, and instead of styrofoam, they use disposable things that are good for the planet, that disintegrate, that are compostable. So these are just some of the technologies that's out there, and there's still more. There's a lot more that's using it to help take care of the planet and even take care of our health. Some of the technologies also, specifically living in the spiritual technology space, is an app, well, many apps, called Apps for Bharat. It's an Indian company who raised millions of US dollars recently to grow their company so that they can help millions of Indians sustain their devotion, their spiritual devotion. Because in the yoga world, in India, which is the source of yoga, where I studied yoga, yoga is thought to be a philosophy. It's a school of thought that unites the mind, body, and spirit. So, yoga is not just to do headstands or to do all the twists in your bodies. It's a side effect. You become leaner and more flexible and stronger. But really, the goal of yoga is to help unite the mind, body, and spirit. So, Apps for Bharat is making multiple apps to help Indians do better in their devotion, in their spiritual devotion in India. Solace VR is on beta. They're not yet live. They are creating a VR based spiritual experience. I don't know. I don't have a lot of information about them, but I'm also excited about them because I am closely watching them. This other one is actually our homepage. In Silence AI, we are trying to make a virtual assistant that lives in a virtual ashram, that will help people upgrade their quality of life through tools from ancient spirituality and big technology like AI, machine learning, and data science, which is my background. But there are many others. But for the purpose of today's talk, to kind of sum it all up, conscious consumption, I think, can be the root cause of a stronger, sustainable effort for everybody. I think there's a lot of benefit from combining spiritual practices, ancient spiritual practices of qigong, or tai chi, or a lot of those martial arts from the east, right? Or yoga, and adopting a more plant-based diet. If you cannot go 100% 100% vegan or plant-based, maybe reducing the meat and increasing the vegan part, and then recycling and repurposing, and buying thrift buying, instead of buying brand new things all the time, and then combining it with ample research, using technology, and supporting the technological companies that push forward the sustainable efforts, the real sustainable efforts of taking care of the world, and us also as a human species. So developing a more conscious mindset so that you can be better informed in your decisions, the things you want to study, the kind of work that you want to do, and maybe the kind of business that you want to build once you're ready, could help contribute to the bigger sustainability effort around the world. So I will leave you with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, one of the most famous spiritual sages that lived on earth. He said, "What we are doing to the forests of the world is but a mirror reflection of what we are doing to ourselves and one another." So technology is there. He didn't speak about that, but if it's helpful for you, a lot of the really successful, wildly successful tech CEOs and leaders are anchored on their own meditation practice. And in my own personal experience, a lot of my own successful projects came from a lot of moments of silence, and a lot of my own efforts towards sustainability and helping through zero waste efforts. I don't know, going vegan, choosing ethical technology and helping rescue animals, or doing talks like this one. That all came from moments of silence. So instead of fearing technology, instead of fearing all of the stigma of being a woman in technology, I actually embraced it and boldly went into it, and I'm still here, and I'm still learning from all of you and from the experience. So what we do to each other, which includes the forests and each other, the people and the animals and the lands and the earth, is actually a reflection of how we see ourselves. So if we can take a moment to take care of our own selves holistically, mind, body, spirit, the bigger contribution we will have to the earth and to each other's lives. So I hope that made sense. It's okay if it did not. It was an invitation to explore probably new concepts for you, or maybe challenge the way of thinking that you have now. And with that, I want to open the floor to ask me anything or questions, or share something that you feel strongly about based on what I shared. And before that, I just want to let you know that you are free to just visit us on beinsilence.com. So these are the two companies that I'm helping build. So In Silence is the virtual ashram, where we're building a conversational AI, a virtual assistant that will help provide tools and resources on spirituality and technology. Matcha Jobs is a very meaningful work that I'm doing with a Japanese company here, where we are opening next month. We're opening the portal to STEM folks, STEM Filipinos in the tech space, young and old, all kinds of tech roles, who want to explore working in Japan. So check us out and let me know if you have questions.
Now it's time for question and answer portion. For questions, feel free to send your questions in our chat box with the format question, your question.
I'm glad that you found it insightful, Sai and a few other folks.
It's very interesting, ma'am. Like, madalas kasi like software, AI, and data science, and hindi talaga masyadong na-introduce yung spirituality together with technological aspects of science.
True. I'm very passionate about both, and I've had my own experience of how they intersected in my life, and how that intersection helped me become a better citizen of the world, become a better steward of the earth.
So, ma'am, what are the advancements of the intersection that introduced that could fully elevate the life of people? Like the correlation of spirituality and technology?
That's such a heavy question. Wow, you guys are so young and you're already asking deep questions. That's such a heavy question, and I've been asked that a lot. And the very fact, so one of the things that I'm fascinated in doing for a long time when I was younger is following tech founders. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Twitter CEO, a lot of them I followed. I'm just really curious about their mind. I'm like, how did you come up with all of these ideas? And through my research, I learned that they all have their own spiritual practice. It's not wildly talked about, except for Jack Dorsey, which is the who's the CEO of Twitter, and I think Steve Jobs have been written about that for a while. But a lot of these bright minds in tech, not just in tech, but these guys in tech who usually don't, who usually are not seen in that light, in that spiritual kind of persona, they actually are anchored on a spiritual practice. And in fact, Jack Dorsey, based on my research, is a vipassana meditator. So vipassana is a meditation technique where you go quiet for 10 days. Literally, you don't speak, you don't do eye contact, you just meditate, you just eat lightly, um, you just interact with nature. You go to a remote area. In my case, I went to Sri Lanka for 11 days, and that's where I had my vipassana meditation. And that's such a mind-blowing experience. And after that, many more meditations came after for me. And a lot of my own tech breakthroughs came from that. After that experience, I got into AI. After that, my in silence AI idea came up. So my conclusion is that a lot of these ideas, if not all of the greatest ideas in the world, come from the human being's connection to the soul, the human being's connection to the intuition. And this may sound woo-woo to a lot of you, but this is based on research and my own personal experience. So I just want to invite you all to check that out and try it out for your own, So because it's so busy right now, we're always, my daughter for a while, she was booked from Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm like, you're 13 years old and you're busier than me. So there's a lot of beauty in giving yourself that silent time to really assess what's going on and what you want in life. And then from there, you can even become more abundant. So if you're someone in tech is not easy, learning how to code and actually doing it and doing a lot of math, doing a lot of analytics, it's so draining for the mind. So if you know how to take care of your mind, literally your brain cells, you can give it more power and more energy to compute more. So actually AI machines it's just a mimicry of the brain. It's a mimicking of the human brain. So that got me fascinated about, okay, the machines can actually compute faster and stronger than humans, right? You're agreeing, Sai? It's a fact. So I'm like, I don't want them to take over the world. So what do I do? And that's kind of how my fascination about what will help us as a human race kind of work well together, and not because it's inevitable, there are machines in the Netherlands that are taking over jobs of human beings. And it's not an ugly thing. It's a great thing. I think that if machines can do a lot of the routinary, repeated work, we as human beings can do the things that we are passionate about, that we don't have time for because we're doing chores a lot of times. If we can have a bot that cleans the floor, which we already have now, and there's a bot in Japan that takes care of cooking. If they can take care of that, then maybe I can just read a book or I can play a game or whatever it is that I want to do, right? So that's kind of my long-winded answer to your question, which I'm not sure it answered at all your question, Sai. So
It's very interesting na you rephrase the thought in that way na even though technology can take over the world, we will have more time to do things na we didn't have time before. That's a
yeah,
good way to put it. We
yeah.
have another question. Are there any books you recommend that are greatly related to the topics you discussed today? And also, as a yoga instructor, what are poses you recommend?
I love it. I'm going to share with all of you something that, oh, thank you, Armeline. Thank you, thank you. I'm going to share with a lot of you because I'm just mind blown by your energy, your youth, your vision, and your promise. So my top favorite books is Naval Ravikant, if you've heard of him. So let me type it. Naval Ravikant. he's amazing. Even if he doesn't say that he is at the intersection of spiritual technology, I think he is. So check him out. He has a free PDF download. You all can read it for free. It's a really thin, really easy read compilation of all his wisdom. He's still alive. He's amazing. He's the founder of AngelList. Yeah. He's one of the coolest human beings on Earth beyond. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And then on the spiritual side of things, because I started with spirituality before going into technology. So Osho and Eckhart Tolle are radical human beings who spoke about spirituality in a very radical way, in a funny way, in a very deep way that helped open my mind to just the questions that I keep asking every day. Another guy that I highly recommend is Dr. Joe Dispenza, not Jose. Joe Dispenza. He is coming from the scientific epigenetic side of things. So he kind of, if I'm trying to connect spirituality and technology, he's trying to connect science and spirituality through his neuroscience work in epigenetics. So those would be my top. Yeah, anything and everything by Eckhart Tolle, Bev, especially the New Earth also, The Power of Now, New Earth. Yeah, I think Elon Musk is also a mind-boggling mind. His partner, Grimes, was interviewed for Vanity Fair. You should all check it out. Just Google Grimes Vanity Fair interview. She spoke about she spoke about spiritual technology. So she saw it through music and through her relationship with Elon Musk, I think. So check her out. Grimes on spiritual technology. I read a lot. So I would say follow your heart, start with these, and then these people will open you up to other people, to other readings also. They're already a lot when you go through them. Teal Swan is a psychology teacher who merges psychology and spirituality. So there is also kind of that intersection there. You will find nuggets of wisdom through her words also. So there's still a lot more, but I'll start with that. Yes, Teal Swan is so cool. Thank you for that question. Oh, yoga pose. I have a lot of favorite yoga poses. My favorite is headstand, but that's after I learned how to do it. Took me years. Took me a long time to do it. When I finally was able to do it, it gave me a lot of resting time for my brain. And literally, when you move your body upside down, it gives you an upside down perspective of life, of the world. So it gives you a lot of new ideas. It even gets you out of a very stressful situation because it kind of shakes you up. Because literally, your body, when it is stressed, especially for all of you going through STEM stuff, it can be very draining. You get hungrier working your brain more than working your body. So when you know how to regulate your body and your mind through yoga poses, so headstand is a good one, but be careful and learn it through yoga videos and through a yoga teacher's guidance. But I think another pose that's more accessible, but this is even harder. This is the hardest pose. Is Savasana. So Savasana is where you just lie down. It's actually also called a corpse pose. You just lie down, and I say it's the most hard because it's so hard to relax now. Try it. After the event today, go lie down anywhere and scan your body, and you will notice that even though you are lying down, you're still not relaxed. Now, if you can get your body and your mind to that very relaxed position of Savasana, or corpse pose when you Google it. When you achieve that, that is very meditative. It will give you a lot of, it will refresh your mind and your body, and therefore you can do more in your studies, in your work, and you can understand harder concepts, more complex concepts. Sometimes even things that you never understood, you will start to understand. Because when you can relax your body and your mind, more wisdom comes through you, more ideas come through you. So hopefully that helps to the
That's
person.
interesting, ma'am, when you said that corpse pose is the hardest one kasi you can fully say that you're relaxed. But when you say relaxed, what is its scope and limitation? Like, how can you say that you're relaxed?
Wow, you're such a STEM girl. What are its scope and limitation? I love it. You're such an engineer.
I meant
What
like,
are,
kasi when
yeah,
you say relaxed, is it when one's mind is not thinking about anything, or how
I
can you?
think I know, right? I know. So before, I've tried so many kinds of meditation practices. And during my earlier exploration of meditation, I thought meditation was my mind not thinking. I thought that was it. I thought it was my mind being 1,000% clear, not having anything. But after going through this school where I learned Vipassana meditation, I learned about how the mind's job is actually to think. So you should not stop the mind from thinking because that's its job. If it doesn't think, it's gonna lose its power. It's gonna die. It's bad for you because it lives on you. So what this form of meditation taught me is to observe the thoughts and detach from it. So, for example, you're having a very bad day. Yeah, I don't know, someone pissed you off, and you got irritated, and that incident, that comment, that person took over your whole day. You're now so stressed. You don't want to work anymore. You don't want to study anymore. You don't understand the code anymore. You cannot fix your code anymore. So when you have that tool and that ability and that courage to take a moment to pause and just observe that feeling, observe that emotion, because emotions come from the thoughts. It's not just from the heart, it's coming from the thoughts. So if you have the ability to observe that, then it will just pass through you. It will not take you over anymore. And therefore, you can recover from that situation faster and you can go back to your normal things. So that's one way of putting it.
So you mentioned something about codes and you having a background, 4 years of a background in AI. What are some interesting projects that people with little to no background on artificial intelligence can pursue that is within the area that you mentioned, the sustainability and spirituality?
Oh, so for sustainability, I don't think there's anything easy to begin with because sustainability as a topic is so huge in itself. AI is also complex, but to get someone started, I would recommend to start the way I started. So my mentors threw me into a boot camp of AI and a combination of MBA. And one of the things that I was asked to do was create a bot inside Facebook. So it's not just one of those automated things on Facebook. You actually use another tool. I don't know if that's still operating now. Another tool called Dashbot, where you actually create the bot and you integrate that with the Facebook profile. That's easy. Because there's so many clear documentation on how to do it online. So creating, I would say getting started on that. So creating a bot. So because that's how I kind of grew up in AI, creating virtual assistants that lived on Google Home. So bots essentially, but our bots didn't live on Facebook, but that was part of my training, and that's I don't know. That might be one of the things we'll do in Silence AI, but I'm not sure. But yeah, that's a good way. It's easy. Everyone uses Facebook. Dashbot, look it up. Is easy to understand, especially for I didn't have coding experience before that, so I would say start with that. But just to get your feet wet, just to get the hang of it. I also would recommend first understanding the concepts of AI. So um, Tesla's AI trainers, if you Google that, we will give you a lot of information because in order to get started with anything, whether it's AI or yoga, I always recommend starting with the foundation. Understand the concept first and understand why you want to do that. Yeah, so conversational AI is big in the US and Europe now, and certain parts of Southeast Asia. So you might want to check that out also. A lot of quick snippets and quick nuggets on Twitter and LinkedIn. A lot of you are young, maybe you don't have LinkedIn yet, but as you prepare your portfolio, you might want to start building a LinkedIn profile because that's a kind of productive swiping in LinkedIn, I think. LinkedIn and Twitter, 10 minutes of swiping there, if you have the right contacts and groups, you are going to learn in 10 minutes. You're not just swiping. So I highly recommend that.
Thank you so much. So